5:47, this is Greatest Hits Radio, encouraging you to send in your very own confession because there's a smart speaker there for you. If you've got a top tale, a top confession, maybe it involves a celebrity, because we had some last week, then we'd love to hear about it. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Sister Susie is in the saloon bar, in charge of everything, just checking she's still there.
I am, yes, I am.
In the studio next door, through the glass, COVID-secure circumstances and everything, that'll be Matthew Williams.
It will be.
The brother from another gutter. Here's today's tale. Comes from Abigail. Abigail, thank you very much indeed for sending in today's confession. Father Simon, Confessional Collective. When I was much younger, I had a group of mates that were always together. We were inseparable and got up to all kinds of mischief, most of which could not be mentioned on the radio. But there is one tale that has been haunting me since my youth. I have hummed and hawed about whether to tell you, even you, Father Simon, but have decided with the new year to unburden myself at long, long last, to start afresh and to seek the radio redemption that you offer. Okay, well, promising start. One of my mates was called Brian. We used to go down to the pub and put the world to rights over a pint of beer or two, or in my case, a baby sham or four.
Oh, yes.
How much is a baby sham at the moment, Sister Susie? Just checking.
I think it's £2.50 for one of the smaller bottles.
Okay, thanks very much. There's the update for all you dry January types. I should say that we were all still living with our parents at the time, and even though I was of legal drinking age, my parents were quite strict, and more importantly, very light sleepers. So if we're out late, I would have to be very quiet as a mouse, trying to get myself back in and up the stairs and into bed without waking them. I was like a stealth ninja. Or at least I thought I was. One false step, one creaky floorboard trodden on, and I would trigger something akin to the Spanish Inquisition. And as I'm sure Brother Matt will testify, 4 baby shams are hard to disguise once you've been on them all night.
Correct.
I bet you've
been
absolutely knocking them back.
Can't get enough.
One particular... What is it? Is it peach?
Isn't it baby champagne? Isn't that what baby sham is? Suze will know. Suze, what's a baby sham?
Yeah, that was the idea, but it's sparkling perry.
Sparkling perry, there you go. One particular Friday, Brian's mum had kindly pre-agreed for me to stay that night. Is that even a thing, pre-agreeing? I think you just agreed ahead of time. Yes. So he could stay. So I didn't have to worry about using my ninja skills and potentially waking the folks and getting an earful. Brian's mum was getting pretty relaxed about what time we got in, so we took complete advantage and had a very merry time. We were the last ones in the pub, and the bar person mopping around us and putting the chairs up on the tables around us gave us the biggest hint that it was time to leave. I realised Sister Susie from the pub might take against us at this point, but we did leave eventually. After stumbling out of the pub and into the nearest kebab shop, we started the long walk home. There wasn't really anyone about and the streets were deserted. About halfway home, I spotted something in the middle of the road that looked like a cuddly toy. But when I got closer, I realised it was actually a live rabbit.
Oh, no.
A live rabbit, and appeared to have an injured paw.
Oh, dear.
I decided that we needed, that was Matt's help a poor animal voice.
Excellent.
I decided we needed to help the poor thing. Well, what else would I do?
Of course.
I did what everyone else would do in the same situation. I picked it up and I took it back to Brian's mum's house. We decided that we would deal with it in the morning, and I placed it in the bath for safety.
The bath. Right, okay.
Looking back, this was not the wisest thing to do. Here we get to the crux of the matter. In the early hours of the morning, Father Simon, I was awoken by an incredible scream. Brian's mum had gone to the toilet. It's not even that. No. And just as she went to flush, she saw 2 frightened eyes looking at her from the bottom of the pan of the toilet.
What?
The rabbit had somehow jumped from the bath and had fallen into the toilet. Bright eyes indeed.
Oh, indeed.
Burning like fire.
Oh, nice.
I think so. She immediately presumed the creature had come up from the sewer, like some creature from the deep, and decided to rescue it and keep it. I have to tell you, Father Simon, I cringe every time she told the story and how the rabbit got its name. From then on in, it was called Sewer, the rabbit.
Yeah, of course.
From the vet, she told the vet, she told her friends, she told everyone the story. What an amazing rabbit. It could swim through pipes. You could show it off in a circus. I decided it would make it all a lot worse to actually tell her the truth, so I never did. So now, after all these years, I feel I need to actually tell her, that's Brian's mum, and I'm sorry I don't know what Brian's mum's name is, that Sewer the rabbit did not swim up, surprisingly, did not swim up through the pipes, but actually it was left there by Brian and myself after a long night of baby shams. And, you know, obviously it was slightly inconvenient for the rabbit to be in the toilet pan at the time. But anyway, everyone's okay in the end.
It is, it's fine.
Yeah.
Sister Susie from the pub.
Yeah, do you know what, Abigail? That really made me laugh. And I think, yeah, you're right. Everyone's all right in the end. You rescued the rabbit. He got a lovely new home. And I think everyone's fine. So I'm going to forgive you.
Brother from another gutter.
I mean, looking down into the toilet after one's been and seeing a pair of eyes looking back that's never good.
Bright eyes.
That's bright eyes.
Yes.
Bunny in the B-Day. Not quite a B-Day, but that's how it works. I'm going to say forgiven because everything did work out in the end, didn't it? I mean, I'm amazed that the bunny with one broken leg managed to get out of the bath. Well done, the bunny there. So, yes, definitely forgiven.
Well, it's the people's verdict. That's what we're... Maybe it wasn't a broken paw. Maybe the rabbit was just putting it on.
Oh, right.
It was just pretending.
Yeah, could be that.
People's
Unlikely.
verdict, please. Do you forgive Abigail, yes or no? On the text 61054. You start your message with Simon. Your confession will be welcome. But for the moment, let's concentrate on the people's verdict. Forgiven, yes or no? 61054. First word is Simon. People's verdict is on the way. Moments ago, we had today's confession, which is all about Sewer the rabbit, who was rescued, slightly damaged, put in the bath overnight, just to recover, but then somehow jumped from the bath to the toilet, was then discovered in the toilet by the mother, and that's Brian's mother, who screamed and thought she had a miraculous rabbit on her hands. Hence Sewer the rabbit. Anyway, the people's verdict is in, and it sounds like this.
So Abigail says, such a funny confession, but it did make me wonder, what about the poor owner of the rabbit? Still, I do forgive. Ruth says, forgiven, the bunny got a home, all happy in the end. And Ali says, forgiven, but has anyone considered how traumatised Sewer was? What did the poor rabbit see?
Well,
indeed, that is a point.
But obviously, you would have to conclude the obvious.
Yes, I think we would. We don't have to speculate on that at all.
Well,
really.
You started the speculation, Your Honour. Anyway, well, thank you very much for that. So if you have a confession for us, it's the best of the week, then you get the smart speaker, and we would love to send it to you. Send us a tale, please. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk.
Okay.
Hurry up, spring, says Crimson.
Brilliant, that's better.
Root Canal Day for Fiona.
Oh, dear.
Party, you say, says Paul.
Right.
Love Matt's voice, says Sharon.
Thank you.
What was that?
I don't know. I don't know where that came from.
Anyway, confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. If you have a tale, you fancy a smart speaker, you don't fancy paying for it, we'll give it to you. Yours is the best of the week. Maybe this is going to be this one. Comes from Victor. Victor, thank you so much for today's confession. I think this probably has a PG, particularly if you're eating food. Simon and Gang, my confession goes back to 1980 when I was 10 years old. I was forever playing football in the garden, with dreams of playing for my beloved Birmingham City. The Blues were my life. St Andrew's Stadium was my church. My dreams were utterly pointless, of course, because I wasn't very good. And time again, I was knocking on the neighbour's door, this is Bob and Gladys Tufton, asking for my ball back as I hoofed it over the fence again, and was always told, if it comes over again, you're not getting it back.
Okay. In Birmingham.
That's my Birmingham voice.
Okay.
But if it did go over again, they did always throw it back after about 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. One day, I was playing keepy-uppy. I was quite good. I got to about 4. And then, lo and behold, it went hoofing and flying over to the Tuftons next door. I looked over the fence. I tried to reach it, but it was just out of reach. Just couldn't get it. So I went round, knocked on the door, and asked for my ball back. Gladys Tufton had her coat on as they were on their way out, and she said, "You can have it back when we come back." This was outrageous, of course. and I was sure it was probably against my human rights. I was devastated, but I thought, well, I'll jump over the fence.
Oh, okay.
As soon as they go out to their probably ridiculous wine and cheese evening.
Right.
Back in the day when wine and cheese just meant wine and cheese, and not what it means now.
No.
Anyway, after 5 minutes, I saw them leave, and I went out and went down to the bottom of the garden so my mum couldn't see me. And I jumped over the fence like a gazelle leaping a stream. To my horror, they had taken my ball inside their house and placed it in the window as if to tease me. As if to say, here's your ball, sunshine. I was so upset, but what could I do? And no, Father Simon, I did not break in, as you would not be able to use this confession.
No, definitely not.
Quite right, Victor.
No.
Breaking and entering, illegal, therefore we couldn't use it, but he didn't do that.
So,
I then realised, said Victor, that I needed the toilet.
Oh,
and
right.
It's taking a slightly more functional turn here. I didn't think I could make it back to the house, what with the fence and everything. Anyway, I had to go. Now you need to know that the neighbours grew their own veggies. So what I have to tell you is that what I did is I went to the loo in the cabbages and the potatoes.
Right.
Then I felt sufficiently gazelle-like again and I jumped back over. Well, later in the afternoon, the ball was actually thrown back into my garden, but I was too frightened to go back out, bearing in mind what I had done. You would think I wanted forgiveness for this particular incident, but no, Father Simon. On the Sunday, Mum called me and my brother and my sister down for our Sunday dinner. The only time we used the dining room table was on Sundays. It was all laid out. My mum said to my dad how kind that the next-door neighbours, the Tuftons, had given us some fresh vegetables out of the garden for our Sunday lunch. I had a look. It was cabbages and potatoes. I was open-mouthed in disbelief. Thinking back now, I reckon they knew what I'd done and in a genius stroke of revenge gave us the vegetables.
Excellent.
So I think I'd probably been caught out for my toilet break. Back at the table then, I had a dilemma. I didn't want to eat the dinner and definitely didn't want the family to eat the dinner. So I grabbed the tablecloth, let out a scream and yanked the tablecloth, sending the Sunday lunch crashing to the floor.
What?
My mum jumped up yelling and in total shock. As quick as a flash, I told her that she was saying, what are you doing? I told her my brother had bitten me and I had pulled the cloth by mistake and I started to cry, pretending that he'd really hurt me. My poor brother got sent to his room while Mum cleaned up the mess and then had to prepare another lunch, a substitute lunch for us all.
Wow.
Except for my brother, who had to wait in his room until tea time. To this day, when we all get together, my sister will say, do you remember when Stuart bit you and the dinner went everywhere? Yes, we all do. And then Stuart, because he was so young, just says he can't remember what happened and he's very sorry. Well, Father Simon, says Victor, I can't take it anymore. I squirm whenever this story is brought up, as I know the truth. I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. And I hope my brother and sister realise why I did it, and also that they forgive me, because I could have let them go ahead and eat the dinner, which, as you know, was compromised, and I just couldn't do that. I await your decision with clasped hands of penitence. Regards from Victor, the Veggie Patch Man. P.S. I've never eaten cabbage since. So, well, we cleaned it up a little, I have to say, but let's just
Really?
check in with Sister Susie from the pub.
Yeah, Victor, do you know what? I'm with the Tuftons and your poor brother. I did like the accents, but I'm afraid I can't forgive anything that you did during that confession. So,
Brother from another gutter.
I mean, there are several things going on here, and I have to say, like midway through this confession, I had no idea where this was going.
No.
Goodness me, what a story! I mean, it's all the circle of life, really. I'm not a gardener or a biologist, but I'm just going to say, whatever went on in the vegetable patch, that's sort of what nature does, I think. And I'm sure the potatoes would have been fine. And I never eat cabbage anyway, so
Yes.
I am going to forgive because of the cabbages.
Okay, yes, as fertiliser and all that. Okay, People's Verdict 61054. Start your message with Simon, thank you. However, we need to deal with our confessional today, which came from Victor, the Veggie Patch Man, who was in pursuit of his lost ball. However, then he got caught short on the vegetable patch next door. Then the neighbours, clearly working out what was going on, offered them some fresh vegetables for their Sunday lunch. He then pulled the whole dinner off the table and blamed it on his brother Stu, say he'd bitten him. Anyway, this was the saga that we told. Here comes the people's verdict. What do they say?
So Jerry says, forgiven. What goes on in the vegetable patch stays in the vegetable patch.
Well.
James says, liar, liar, pants on fire is all I'm saying. Tess says, I can't forgive. Having been subjected to so many lies from older siblings, I can't help but feel bad for Victor's younger brother. And finally, John says, not forgiven. Definitely a red chard for that. Yeah.
Really?
Red chard, you see.
Yeah, you
because it's a vegetable.
Well. I realise, yes,
also sounds
that.
like red card.
Thank you for the explanation. It's always good when you have to explain a joke.
Yeah.
If you have a confession, we'd love to hear it, please. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Fine, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah.
That's the biggest challenge of the day. Sister Sledge on Greatest Hits Radio, standing by for Wednesday's confession. Sister Susie's in the position in the saloon bar.
I am indeed.
She's ready to pass judgment on today's tale of depravity. And the brother from another gutter is next door to the glass.
Yes.
Like an exhibit at Madame Tussauds.
Yes, except I move.
Apart from that, but looking waxy and slightly
lovely.
past his best. Anyway, that's...
Wow.
Okay.
So true.
Today's confession comes from Rocket Girl. Simon Mann, Susie, my confession goes back to 1974. I was 14, attended a girls' grammar school in Rugby with my best friend, who I'm going to call Island Girl. We spent every spare moment of our spare time worshipping the bespectacled pianist from Pinner. Yes, plain old Elton John as he was then. The knighthood was some way off. Island Girl and I were utterly, madly, completely devoted. Our devotion knew no bounds. For example, one year we saw Elton at the Rainbow in Finsbury Park in London. Our tickets were for row Q, but we wanted to be nearer the front, so we had the genius idea of lying under the seats of the front row. Then when the lights went down, we would simply come out from our hiding place, ta-da, and watch the rest of the show. Of course, we got thrown out.
Okay.
Anyway, whenever Elton went on tour, we saved our pocket money, then either sent off 4 tickets, postal orders to the 4, or physically queued up to get them different times. We were resourceful, energetic, imaginative, and completely in thrall. This particular year, 1974, Elton's tour included the Coventry Theatre, a wonderful centre of cultural experiences which now, sadly, no longer exists. In those days, though, anyone who was anyone played there. Now, Island Girl and I had already seen him twice on the tour, but why, I don't know, didn't have tickets for Coventry. However, this wasn't going to stop us. We were Elton's biggest fans. On the night in question, Island Girl came to my house. She and I, without telling our parents, walked 2 miles down a busy road to the next village, where we caught a bus to Coventry. The bus station was opposite the hotel that we guessed Elton was staying in. So we hung around the front door and were rewarded when he actually walked out to get to his car. We ran along the pavement alongside his car towards the theatre. There was a lot of traffic, so he didn't go very fast. Me shouting, Elton, Elton, and Island Girl brandishing her Watford scarf like the crazy, determined fans we both were. We hung around the stage door and were again rewarded with a quick chat from various band members who came outside whilst the support act was on. Eventually we heard Elton take to the stage. Island Girl and I were still outside, a bit despondent by now, as the realisation dawned that we would not get to see Elton after all. Then the most incredible thing happened. A spaceship, no.
No, not that.
Right. 2 policemen asked us what we were doing. Well, we're just hanging around hoping to see Elton, but we haven't got any tickets, we said. Though we probably squealed a fair bit and giggled hysterically. Listening kindly to our incoherent fangirl babbling, one of them said the most extraordinary thing. Wait until we've gone, he said, then run in the front, past the doorman. He won't stop you, he's old. But do wait until we're gone, says PC local.
Right.
Anyway, with that, they smiled at us and ambled off. Well, it took Island Girl and I a nanosecond to realise this is actually a brilliant idea. Why hadn't we thought of it? So we went to the front door, actually 2 heavy plate glass doors with brass handles. We looked through. Sure enough, there was an old guy sitting in the foyer. He was probably about 40, but to us, he was ancient. We looked at each other. Could we? Dare we? You go first, Island Girl said. No, you go first, I replied. Anyway, lest we lose our nerve, I then grasped one of the handles, took a deep breath, pulled it open towards me, and hurled myself through. I didn't dare look behind me to see if Island Girl was following, and as I heard the doorman yell, "Oi!" very loudly and quite angrily, "Bloomin' students!" I knew I just had to keep going, hoping that Island Girl was right behind me. We raced at full tilt to the door at the far end of the foyer, which took us into the halls. In the darkness of the auditorium, we shot down the side of the stalls, flung ourselves on our stomachs, and waited breathlessly to be discovered. Sure enough, the doorman appeared in a doorway at the back of the halls, scanning the darkened theatre for us. We dug ourselves deeper into the carpet than is actually feasibly possible and held our breath. A few people around us smiled knowingly, but mercifully for us, they didn't dob us in. After about 10 minutes, and once we were sure Mr. Angry Doorman had given up his search, we crept up onto our knees. Then, in a low crouch, ran down the centre aisle, right in front of Elton's guitarist, Davy Johnston. Now, Island Girl has a very distinctive set of... has very distinctive hair, not a set of hair. And is easily identified from the stage, even in the dark of a concert. Sure enough, Davy saw her, recognised her from his chat to her outside the stage door, pointed to her and gave us a huge grin and thumbs up. Simon, we were in absolute heaven. We were in, we screamed, we sang, we danced, we waved, and generally behaved like the complete, smitten, ecstatic 14-year-old obsessives that we were, and probably much to the annoyance of everyone around us. We saw the rest of the concert in a state of delirium. However, I do need to ask forgiveness. Not from the people whose concert we may very well have ruined with our exuberant shouting, waving and general fan behaviour, but from Mr. Angry Doorman, who was very young probably, at whose authority we so blatantly thumbed our noses 47 years ago. I can still hear him shouting, "Oi, bloomin' students!" as we barreled through his domain. He may well have got into trouble for letting 2 crazed teenage fans get the better of him, but this was breaking and entering. Definitely wrong. Don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah.
Incidentally, Island Girl and I are still fans, and it doesn't look like we're growing up anytime soon. Yours, all the best. There's Rocket Girl with a lovely fade there from one
another,
to the other. Well, obviously, one of the things that we can't condone is breaking and entering.
Of course not.
Sister Susie, voice of responsibility, dashing through and sneaking past the old timer on the desk. What do you say to Rocket Girl?
Well, what a story, Rocket Girl. And I love the enthusiasm there. But, you know, he probably wasn't that old. And it was a bit mean. So I don't know if I can forgive you, because you should have bought tickets. What about all the people who are in there that bought a ticket and you got it for free just for running past the man?
They were fine.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Anyway, brother from another gutter.
I mean, one guy on security. Obviously, we don't condone this, but one guy on security. So, you know, I mean, he's just going through the motions, really, isn't it? And also, theatre carpets. They're a nightmare. They were face down on the theatre carpet. Goodness me. Yes, definitely forgiven.
She actually says when at the Finsbury Park Rainbow, I took this out from a previous edit. I can still remember the smell of the greasy dirt under the seats.
Oh, lovely.
Well, if you spend a few hours there, that's exactly what you're going to remember. Anyway, what we need is the people's verdict. Do you forgive Rocket Girl and Island Girl? 61054 on the text. First word is Simon. Forgiveness is the people's verdict. 61054. But about 10 minutes ago, 50 minutes ago, we had tonight's confession from Rocket Girl and Island Girl, all about crashing the Coventry Theatre when they didn't have tickets. A little bit of breaking and entering. By the way, before the people's verdict, there's another PS that they sent in, where they snuck off from a school trip to South Audley Street. These 2 girls, where Elton's fan club was located. Anyway, they're waiting there a while, and Elton actually walks out.
Wow.
And says to them, "You're Island Girl and Rocket Girl." They'd sent so many photographs, he actually recognised who they were using their actual names. And then, this is the period detail which you're going to love. Okay. Elton says, "I've got to go because I'm having lunch with Jimmy Hill."
Brilliant.
There you go.
Jimmy Hill.
Which places it very squarely, I think, in the 1970s. OK, the people's verdict, though, for Rocket Girl and Island Girl. Here it comes.
So Steve, the chimney sweep in Barnsley, says the girls are totally forgiven, although not condoned. The blame should be directed at Mr. Plod for telling them how to get in. Daniel says totally forgiven. The girls were following police advice. However, they need to ask for forgiveness from their parents for sneaking out.
That is true.
That is true. And Debbie says, I think the girls should be forgiven, as Elton would have sold so many seats that he wouldn't have minded just another two joining. Might be slightly biased, though, as I live in Rugby, and it was nice to have a mention.
I'd completely forgotten that bit early on. They don't tell their parents. They get on the bus and they go to Coventry.
Different times, everyone. Different times.
Well, I don't think it was approved of, even...
No, it wasn't.
Even back in the 70s. If you have a confession, we would love to hear it. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Best one gets the smart speaker. One more this week. We'll vote tomorrow. When do you think the sun is coming up tomorrow in London?
I will say 8:02.
1 minute out.
Oh,
8:01.
really? Wow.
Shame. No, I was going to offer you a big prize, but I'm afraid.
But not now.
Yeah, I didn't. Maybe I should have offered it. I would have offered it to.
I
might have offered it to Sister Susie from the pub. But equally, you might have written down all those times earlier.
Yes, that's true.
So therefore, that excludes you. So here we go with the last confession of the week, which is the funniest. The smart speaker is up for grabs. Let me just check I've got everything lined up and ready to go. Yes, I think I have, actually. This comes from Sideshow Sam. Thank you, Sideshow Sam. Father Simon and the Brethren Fellowship of Forgiveness. My misdemeanor takes place in a town that Brother Matt may be aware of, back when he was a cub reporter and learning his craft. It's also a tale of revenge from the tale of Crosby. From the town of Crosby.
Town of Crosby,
not the tale of Crosby. From the town of Crosby.
Yeah, I know it well.
Which is where I was growing up back in the day. In my teens, I was a member of a youth theatre company, just like Matt.
Yeah.
No.
We learnt many great things, but no one told us how to wear cravats or berets, I'm afraid to say.
Oh, dear.
My hunch is that no one on Merseyside wears a beret anyway, says Sideshow Sam.
Well,
what do you say, Matt?
I say each to their own, as you know.
However, the plays were fun, the rehearsals very enjoyable, but on many occasions I was the butt of childish pranks played by one person. We're going to call that person Ian. He was very good at sweetening tea and coffee with salt, or on many occasions Tabasco sauce. We also suspected there were many other things he dropped into beverages. All of them legal, I hasten to add, but all of them absolutely disgusting. He thought his japes were hilarious. I found him totally insufferable. Also, his dad drove a Ford Capri, which marked him out as a fool.
Right.
There is an extent to which you can judge someone by the car they choose. Like if you drive a Hummer, for example.
Okay, yeah, we can all agree on that.
Okay. Anyway, says Sideshow Sam, as you can imagine, Ian was not a nice person. In one year, we decided to do a sort of parody of popular television shows in our youth theatre company. Part of the production was a spoof of Top of the Pops, the show that obviously we all loved and watched religiously each week. For my part, and due to the fact that some members of the company thought I looked like him, I was Shakin' Stevens.
Wow.
Green Door I could do. Oh, Julie was pretty good. But my version of This Whole House was the killer. I did the hips, I did the lips, I did the denim. Father Simon, I rocked it. If you love Shaky, you'd love me, says Sideshow Sam. A little bit bigger.
Wow.
Thinks a lot of himself. When it came to Ian's part, he was one half of a duo who'd been at number one. I'm talking here of Rene and Renato.
Oh,
and
wow.
Save My Love.
Yeah.
That was the hit. They were the female-male combo that were all a rage. Here's your reminder. That's what he had to do.
Even though it's been so very long.
He didn't have to do this bit.
No.
Anyway, they'd won new faces. Save My Love was absolutely huge. During the final night of our show, when all the parents were in, and after I'd been on stage and had been a huge, shaky hit, I had an idea for revenge for all the nasty things that he had done over the years. When Ian and his partner, Maggie, were miming to their particular Save Your Love song, I, now in charge of sound, I see, found a way of speeding the song up. So the song sounded like the Chipmunks and the dancing had to be incredibly frenetic. I then, in a stroke of genius, turned the music off completely, leaving them to do their dance act to total silence. It became like mime. Members of the audience were beginning to laugh. Ian and Maggie were nonplussed and then clearly furious, but they carried on. Him being Italian and operatic, and she being kind of Crosbyan and operatic. Well, when the audience were leaving, they couldn't understand Ian and Maggie's act at all. The discussions went along like this. Was it some kind of brave new avant-garde theatre experience, maybe? Maybe the silence was a metaphor for the lack of understanding in the world. If we could just listen, then maybe we could all live in peace and dance like Pan's people. Maybe it was an extension of the New Seekers wanting to buy the world a Coke.
Yes.
And honeybees and apple trees and snow-white turtle doves. I think Sideshow Sam is just veering off just a little. Was it that? They asked themselves, or was it just some annoyed drama student getting his own back? In a pathetic and childish way, of course. Father Simon, clearly I'm going to need forgiveness here, not from Ian and Maggie, because of all the nasty things they did, but from the audience who were initially perplexed and left feeling amused and confused. It should have been a light-hearted, light entertainment-filled evening, but became a bitter tantrum-filled charade. On the plus side, Ian stopped putting his filthy things in my drink, as far as I know. Also, I need forgiveness from Rene and the late Renato for making a mockery of their hit record. This confession is from Sideshow Sam, and we turn for a possible taste for forgiveness. Mind you, that was particularly good edit, I think.
Yes, I thought so.
To Sister Susie, got a World Service crash there, is what it was. Sister Susie, what do you say?
Well, Sideshow Sam, do you know what? I don't condone what you do because I think it was a bit mean. However, I do think Ian sounds a lot meaner, and he should stop putting things in people's drinks. So I feel like you taught him a lesson, so I'm going to forgive.
I dread to think. I mean, it's almost not knowing what he put in it makes it even worse.
It's just no. And I like that you wear a beret, which Matt won't, so I'm going to forgive.
Brother from another gutter.
So, A, it's always good to hear Rene and Renata again after all these years.
Yes.
And B, frankly, with drama, you know, if no one understands it, then just, you know, call it futility of hope, disperse, c'est moi, and watch the awards roll in. 5 stars, the Scotsman. Oh, isn't that the case? Yes, definitely forgiven.
Okay, people's verdict, please. 61054. First word is Simon. Do you forgive Sideshow Sam? Yes or no? People's verdict, 61054. Merely moments ago, we had the last confession of the week from Sideshow Sam with a torrid tale involving Ian, who spent a lot of time in his theatre company doing this. Rene and Renato, whilst Ian was shaking Stevens. Anyway, Ian was putting filthy things in other people's drinks. People's verdict is in, here it comes.
So Michelle says forgiven. Absolute winner in my opinion. Gets my vote for the smart speaker. Taught Ian a lesson. Lily says not forgiven. I've been on stage when the sound system gives up and wouldn't wish it on anyone. Michael says forgiven purely because nobody should have to listen to what was likely a very below average performance of Rene and Renata. I'd have cut it off sooner. But Stuart in Wigan says forgiven, but he missed the opportunity of a better prank by not playing the B-side of the Rene and Renato song, which is also very, very good.
Is it as good as this, though?
How can it possibly be as good as this?
Anyway, which is our confession of the week. Another top edit there. Who's going to get the smart speaker? So Monday's confession was from Abigail, all about Sewer the rabbit, who was rescued while slightly damaged and put in a bath overnight to recover, only to later be discovered in the toilet by Brian's mother.
Right.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Next up, Victor the Veggie Patch Man's confession. He was in pursuit of his lost ball, but then he got caught short on the vegetable patch next door. The neighbours realised what had happened and offered some of their fresh veggies for Sunday lunch. Rocket Girl and Island Girl provided yesterday's confession, all about crashing the Coventry Theatre to see Elton John, and they didn't have any tickets, but they went in anyway. And he just had final one of the week from Sideshow Sam, who took revenge on Ian and Maggie and then cut off the sound whilst they were performing, Rene and Renato.
Another outing there.
Wow.
Brilliant.
I think the moral exemplar is Susie, the producer of the programme.
Yes.
She speaks first. What do you say?
I am Abigail, I think, with the rabbit, Sewer the rabbit, because the fact that rabbit lived its whole life being called Sewer the rabbit, I think deserves a smart speaker. So.
Okay, Matt, what are you going to go for?
I'm going to say Victor and his potatoes and cabbages. Yeah.
Well, that was good.
Yes.
I'm gonna go for Sewer the rabbit, I have to say.
Outvoted again.
So
outrageous.
Outvoted again. You're absolutely right. Okay, so confessions at greatesthitsradio.co.uk. If you have a confession for us for next week, we'd love to read it. Maybe get you the smart speaker. But it's Abigail who gets this week's. Well done, Abigail. Confessions returns Monday, only on Drive Time.